والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم آمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today inshallah we're looking at الدرس الثامن, which is the 8th lesson of دروس اللغة العربية. So we've treated the first 7 lessons, and today inshallah we're looking at the 8th lesson. So in the 8th lesson we have الدرس الثامن. In this lesson we're mostly going to look into subjects and predicates, and also what we call laam almulk, which is a lam that indicates possession of something, and also we're going to take a look into al-idafa, which is annexation. So and most of these are just glance through because they're not really in depth, because each of these are just going to be a glance through, just the basics. We're just going to take a look at the basics of all these things: the subject, predicate in Arabic language, annexation in Arabic language, and also what we know as lam al-mulk. Now inshallah we'll begin with first sentence. Here it says هذا الرجل تاجر وذلك الرجل طبيب. Now هذا الرجل, there's a difference between هذا الرجل with the alif and lam in the rajul, and هذا رجل without the alif and lam. So in the past, or in the previous lessons, we've talked about al-ma'rifa and al-nakra, and one of the signs we use to identify al-ma'rifa is the alif and lam, and there are other signs we can use to identify al-ma'rifa. So in this we have alif and lam, which indicates the ma'rifa. So if you're going to interpret this, it's going to be this man. So, and like you see, it's different from haza rajulun. When it has a nakra, that would be this is a man. Okay, so when it's haza rajulun, this is a man, it's a complete sentence. It makes a complete sense. But when you say haza rajul with a ma'rifa, this man, then it does not make a complete sense. It's more or less like a phrase. So haza rajul tajir. Now the sentence is complete. Haza rajulu tajirun. This man is a merchant. Okay, وذلك الرجل طبيب, and that man is a doctor. So in Arabic language we have what we call mubtada wa khabar, and it's known as subject and predicate. Mubtada is subject, and khabar is what we know as predicates. So we have mubtada wa khabar, which is subject and predicate. So mubtada here is هذا الرجل, which is this man, and the khabar, which is the predicate, is tajir, is a merchant. Okay, so the merchant is the khabar, while hadha rajul is the mubtada. And the signs of mubtada and khabar, they usually take the signs of rafa, or they're in a state of a rafa, which means and the most prominent sign, as I've explained in the previous lesson, for a rafa is the dhamma. So each one of these is going to be having a dhamma at the last letter. So we have hadha rajulu is having a dhamma, tajirun is also going to have a dhamma, وذلك الرجل, that man, طبيب. So both words are having dhamma at the last letters. Lam is having a dhamma, and ta here is also having a dhamma. So now we're going to look into the second sentence. We have ismu tajiri Mahmud wasmu tabibi Sa'id. Now ismu tajir is this two words we have here, ismu and tajir. They're known as al-idafa, which is annexation in Arabic language, and which is annexation in English. And so ismu, and we know that in annexation, the first word in an annexation is going to be called the mudafa. So here ismu is the mudaf, and tajir is going to be the mudafu ilay. So I made an error there. So the first word is going to be called al-mudaf. All right, in annexation in Arabic language, the first word is known as the mudaf, and it takes the harakat. It's going to have the harakat that, most especially the harakat has usually dhamma if there are no other working how do I put it, working harfs in the sentences. So we'll get into that later on inshallah, but most of the time, like if it starts in a sentence like here, the mudaf is usually going to have a dhamma at the last letter. So just like we have here ismu, and then the mudafu ilay is going to have a kasra at the last letter, which is going to be at-tajiri. So we have ismu tajiri, ismu is the mudaf, and at-tajiri is the mudafu ilay. Now both of these words, that is the idafa, now he's standing as the mubtada here. It's standing as the mubtada, ismu tajiri. So both of them are standing for the mubtada. Mahmud is going to be the khabar. So ismu tajiri Mahmud wasmu tabibi Sa'id. So the merchant's name is Mahmud and the doctor's name is Sa'id. So we have هذا البيت للتاجر وذلك البيت للطبيب. This house is for the merchant, وذلك البيت للطبيب, and that house is for the doctor. So we can see that they're giving us different categories of subjects and predicates and how they can come. So we've been given هذا الرجل When we have a haza, we have a sifa. So rajul here is a sifa for haza because it's explaining haza, but both of them are in the place of mubtada. And we also have mubtada can also come in form of annexation. We have here ismu tajir, standing as the mudaf, as the mubtada. So here we have haza al-baytu lit-tajir. Now haza al-bayt, this house is for the merchant, is for the tajir. So how do we know, and how are we knowing it's for the tajir? Is because of this lam here. It's known as lamul mulk. It's the lam that indicates possession of something. So when you say haza al-baytu lit-tajiri, this house is for the merchant. So whenever you see lam, and then you see whenever you see a lamb in this kind of scenario, you should know it's indicating possession. So when you say has al bayt, when an object comes before it or something comes before it, and you say li zalik or li kaza wa kaza, you know that it is indicating possession. So has al baytu lit tajiri, this house is for the merchant. Wa zalik al baytu lit tabibi, and that house is for the doctor. Baytu Tajiri, another annexation. Amam al Masjid is in front of the masjid. So the merchant's house is in front of the masjid. All right, so amam is a zarf, and zarf indicates places, indicates areas. So like amam is in front of, so we say baytu tajir amam al masjid, the merchant's house is in front of the masjid. Wa baytu tabibi khalf al madrasa, and the doctor's house is behind the madrasa. So these are called mudaf, and what they do is that they give the last letter of the common word, the following word after it, a kasra, like we have here amam al masjidi. So whatever word that comes after a zarf, all right, whatever word that comes after a zarf is going to be having a kasra at the last letter. All right, so we have amam al masjidi and khalf al madrasati. They're going to be having kasra at the last letter. So that's what one of the things that zarf does. So you have liman hazi sayyaratu wa liman tilka. And another lamul mulk here. Liman, who owns this car. Liman hazi sayyara wa liman tilka, and who owns that. Okay, هذه سيارة للطبيب, this car is for the doctor. وتلك للتاجر, and that is for the merchant. هذه سيارة من اليابان, this car is from Japan. We've talked about the حروف الجر, and also لام الملك is also considered as one of the jar letters, one of the حروف الجر. And so just like min, and also an ila and an, we've talked about that in previous lessons. So هذه السيارة من اليابان, this car is from Japan. وتلك من أمريكا, and that is from America. So in the test questions, what you have is just practice questions there. You can recite, and you have أجب عن الأسئلة الآتية. You're asked to answer the following questions. من هذا الرجل ومن ذلك الرجل. So what you're going to do is compose sentences from your own dictionary, or from your own view. You can compose whatever you can, and using the passage as an example, as a guideline. So you have that in the first test question. And the second test questions, you're asked to read and write. There are a series of examples of the same thing we've just talked about in the passage. So more examples for you to go through and understand it better. And the third lesson and the third test question, you're asked to actually make sentences, okay, to create subjects and predicates from just normal sentences. Like for example, we have here haza tabib, haza tabibun, this is a doctor. So you're asked to create a sentence that will compose of a subject and predicate. So you're going to change this to haza kitab, haza al-kitab, okay. Then you're going to add the khabar, which is the predicates, on this other side here, and you may use it to make a sentence of subject and predicates. So here is going to be haza tabibu min al-Hind, this doctor is from India. And that is that for that test question. And the fourth test questions, you'll be asked to use the lamul mulk. So you have liman haza al-kitab li Muhammadin. So now here we have a qalam, is a pen. You can say liman haza al-qalamu, and you say haza al-qalamu li Abbasin. All right, so I would advise that you go through these test questions, practice them and do them, so you can get better at it. And then you have also more examples of jar and usage of jar, or the letters of jar. You have al-bayt, fil bayti, min al-bayti, ila al-bayti. So that they're teaching you how to use the jar letters here. So yeah, iqra waktub, more examples for you to read and write, and you're given more examples on zarf here. In the sixth lesson, Iqra, you have a saburatu amam al-talib, the board is in front of the student. So you can see, like I said, zarf would give the last letter of the common word a kasra. Amam al-talibi, All right. So, and we have new words. You can go to the new words too. Inshallah, we have Mustashfa, hospital, Mania, Germany, in Kilitara, England. So, not to take much of your time, inshallah, this will be the end of the 8th lesson. If you have more questions, you can ask, inshallah. And so, I think that will be all for now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.